Hey, what's up YouTube? It's me, Mr. White, back with some AP Human Geography. Getting ready for that test up in May. I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this video to all the kids that procrastinate, but are still going to get a 3, 4, and 5 because you clicked thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell. What's up? Let's get started. Today we're talking about migrations. Alright? Pack your bags, kids, because it's going to be a wild ride. First, you need to know what is a migration. Migration is a real simple thing. It's when people move to better their opportunity. It has a great spatial process in it that includes movement, one of our themes, diffusion, another theme which is movement, distribution, and patterns. So we'll see a lot of patterns in migration today when we're checking this out. First, when someone is deciding to migrate, they'll look at the push and the pull factors. So push factors, things that would make them want to leave, pull factors, things that are keeping them there, pulling them away. They'll balance these two, make a pros and cons list, kind of like when you're like, should I date this person? Pros, they're good looking. Cons, they're dumb and annoying. You have to decide. Migrants do the same thing. So let's look at some of these examples. So push factors that are common. High unemployment is the #1 push factor. If there's no jobs, people won't go there. We're also looking at discrimination, unrest, famine, climate, any type of environmental problems. Those would be classic push factors. Some pull factors, always at the top, is employment. Employment is #1, pulling in immigrants, forcing people to leave, bringing people in, always looking at employment. One of the migration types we'll be looking at today are cultural. And we'll look at a few examples here. The first one will be Rwandan genocide from 1994. This was a massive migration that occurred of about 1 million people of the entire country of Rwanda based upon an ethnic problem between the Tutsis and the Hutus. So you see we got the Tutsis, this taller minority, lighter skin, and the Hutu are the shorter, darker majority. And the conflict comes to a head when there's genocide within this country, mass exodus, people trying to get to safety, going to Zaire, going all to these neighboring countries to try to get away. If you were seen and you were the enemy, right, looking the opposite of a Hutu or Tutsi, you'd fall victim and prey. This is in Rwanda, which is kind of southern Central Africa in the mid-90s. Another good example is going to be Pakistan and India. One of the largest single migrations in human history. This migration occurred just after World War II when India and Pakistan were partitioned after the British Empire relinquished them with the end of colonialism. You see in this map here, we have these massive amounts of Hindu and Muslims moving back and forth because the entire subcontinent had both Hindus and Muslims. But when the partition occurred, most Hindus did not want to be a minority in what would be a Muslim majority in Pakistan, so they moved to India, and vice versa. Muslims that were in what would be India will move to Pakistan or East Pakistan, modern day Bangladesh, in order to escape being a minority. Another massive migration. The last one we're going to look at is same year, 1948, the creation of Israel with the Zionist movement. You have millions of Jews going from all over Europe, Africa, and the Middle East going to Israel when it's created just after World War II, when the UN creates Israel in 1948. So these 3 examples are cultural migrations that you would see on the test. Now let's look at our next topic, environmental. One of the classic ones we see on the AP test in just a few days, if you want to get that 3, 4, 5, is the potato famine of Ireland. The Irish potato famine ripped through Ireland in the late 1840s. Millions of Irish immigrants will go to Canada, the US, and Australia. They went down under to escape this blight. A blight is when the crop will fail to produce correctly. And we see this potato, I don't want to eat that potato, I don't want to do nothing with that. And Irish sweet potato is a massive staple crop of their diet. So because of the failure of this crop, people were starving to death. They had to get out of Ireland. Most of them will go to the US and the New England area. Another environmental one is more recent. About 14 years ago, we had Hurricane Katrina strike down here in Louisiana. It will displace millions of people from the Louisiana area and the entire Gulf Coast. We can see it affects all of these counties, but we see this choropleth map here affecting many in Louisiana, New Orleans, okay? So those are environmental migrations. So we have our cultural and our environmental migrations. The next type we're going to look at, the third type, is going to be our forced migration. When we talk about forced migration, we're generally going to be looking at the transatlantic slave trade that occurred from about the late 15th century to the 18th century. And during this time, we're going to have millions of Africans forced from the west coast of Africa to South and North America. It was the largest movement of humans, forever changed and altered the history of Africa and the New World. This was a massive migration. Another forced migration occurred right here in America in the 1820s with the Indian Removal Act and the Trail of Tears that was a result of it. You have entire tribes, the Cherokee, right, Chickasaw, Choctaw Indians, are all moved all to Oklahoma to be put on a reservation west of the Mississippi due to nonconformity. So we have, so far, we have our cultural, environmental, and our force examples. The last one we're going to look at is political, and I'm going to pick on one political ideology that I don't like, and it's communism. So we see when Ho Chi Minh will institute communism in Vietnam, we'll have a mass exodus of people in what's known as the boat people. They'll be leaving Vietnam. They'll go anywhere that is not communist that will take them. They'll be floating adrift forever, not forever, for years. Many will come to LA, San Francisco. They'll go down to Australia, anywhere around Vietnam off the coast. Another political example is in Cuba, nearby, just 90 miles south of Florida. You have Fidel Castro, instituting communism. Many Cubans flee. They'll be on these rafts we can see down here in this picture. We see a commonality here is dictators come to power, institute communism, people fleeing on boats, doing whatever they can to get away. So those are our four major types we'll look at. There's one or two examples for each one if you got an FRQ to write about. Laws of migration time, people. Let's do this. E.G. Ravenstein, you, 3, 4, and 5. Let's talk here. So most migrants adhere to these laws of migration. So the first law is migrants generally will travel a short distance due to monetary constraints. The second one is they like to arrive in large cities due to the availability of jobs. Third, they typically will go from rural to urban. Right? They're not going to go urban to rural. There's less jobs out in the farmland. Young males are generally who make up these migrants. And the last one is a lot of chain migration will occur. Remember, chain migration is one of your vocab words you need to know. It's when I will move somewhere because someone in my family lives there. And then once I get there, more people from my family will continue to cluster, and it brings in people of all over. That's a chain migration. You're linked together. Your family linkage and your lineage will link you all together. So don't forget chain migration. And Ravenstein also came up with what is known as the gravity model over here. So let's say you're a migrant, you're young, you're looking to go somewhere. The gravity model is stating that wherever you start, so we're starting here in the hearth, you'll be more likely drawn to a larger destination than a smaller destination due to the availability of jobs. And that's just common sense. And one of the easiest models on the test, and I can't really think of any other way to describe it except that these migrants are really drawn to these larger locales due to the availability of jobs. Next topic we're looking at is types of migration. On that test every year, College Board's trying to trick y'all, all right? I got you. I got your back like a sweater. Let's go. First type of movement with migrants is called cyclical movement. And this is what you do every day, right? In your mom's minivan, on the bus. We can see it. It's what I do in my car. It's that constant repetitive movement of your daily activities to your daily activity spaces. That would be a cyclical movement. Right? If you call it cyclical, that's fine because you don't have to talk on the AP test, right? Cyclical, make sure you recognize this word. The next type is periodic. Periodic is when you go somewhere for a good period of time and then come back. You return, right? You close that circuit. Examples would be military, right? Or going to college, go Dogs. And when you do this, you go off for 2, 4 years, 6 years, and then you come back, right? Like with me, I went to college, I was poor, had to move back home. Right? Periodic movement. The last type is the easiest to understand. It's called just migratory movement, and it's when a person will go and they just move forever. They get the U-Haul, right? They put everything in mom's attic, right? They go, right? They turn on their Spotify, and they gone, and they don't come back. Don't look back. Don't ever look back. Those are our 3 types of movement. All right, I'm gonna leave you with this, guys. We don't take 1s and 2s, we take 3s, 4s, and 5s. Do what you gotta do. I dedicated this to all of the procrastinators out there. I see you on YouTube watching how to be efficient and study videos. That's a waste of time. It's ironic, don't do that. All right, until next time, I expect to see y'all. We'll get those 3s, 4s, and 5s. I'm out.